Hi there, Leslie Rogalski here, Creative Director for the BeadSmith, and I had teased you all with pictures showing these really adorable, darling, cute, precious, wonderful, on-trend little bracelets using the new Duracoat colors from Mayuki from the BeadSmith. So we are using them here with our Cymbal metal fashion elements. And I picked colors with the help of my fabulous assistant, Leslie A. Pope, to go with the rose gold, the rose gold, the antique silver, the gold, and the antique brass elements, Cymbal elements. We have scalati endings for the size 11 Delicas. And look at these bead substitutes. Are they not the cutest things ever? Little flowers. Guarani is their name. And you can see that they match the metals, the rose gold, the silver, the gold, and the antique brass. So I'm going to take you through this step by step, working with square stitch, and just some of the 20 new Duracoat Mayuki Delica colors. They're wonderful. They have that Duracoat. They're durable. The color is going to be dense, saturated, opaque colors. There's also some gold lined colors, which are really also very spectacular. There's a little bit of that used in here. They call it platinum, but it's got this really cool green color. Anyway, I digress. I want to show you how easy it is to incorporate these findings with these yummy new colors using square stitch. Now, I'm not sure how experienced everybody is with the square stitch or how to incorporate them into the findings. So I have one of my doodle beads diagram showing a basic square stitch to help start you off to understanding how this is going to work. Now we use square stitch because it gives us a nice clean edge where the finding would be to come off of this. But the square stitch, you start with picking up a row of beads like this. And then you can pick up one or two or more at a time per stitch. And that's usually where they call it drop. 2-drop square stitch or 3-drop square stitch. The red line here shows one bead at a time picked up like this. You come through your row and you pick up your new bead, sew around back through the bead that was in your first row, through the bead you just picked up, and you pick up another bead. And you're just going to circle around and around through the row. Now, if you were going to do 2-drop, you would simply just pick up 2 beads at a time, go down to the previous row, back through the beads in that row, and up through the 2 new beads that you just picked up, and you keep going across the whole row. Then we're going to move down here. You've added all your beads. Now in square stitch, you reinforce each row, and this is what makes it a very popular stitch. It's sturdy, it's strong, it holds its shape. After you come out, you're going to come out up here. You're just going to go through the whole previous row and the row you just stitched. And then you would start adding new beads across this way. So you'd work back and forth and back and forth. So that's sort of a basic stitch. Okay, let me show you how we're going to start with square stitch on a Cymbal finding. And I'm going to change my board out here. And I'm going to show you first how we start, and then I'm going to go back and show you how we end. Come on. There we go. Okay, here's my scalati. That's the little, don't they look like purse handles? That's what we think. I'm going to string a stopper bead first, leaving a 3 or 4 inch tail. You string the bead and you go back through the bead. Now we have space for 7 Delicas to go inside, and I start from the finding and sew through the first hole like this, pull it up to my stopper bead. Then I'm going to string 7 Delicas, and they're off camera right now just so I don't get things tangled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's my 7 beads. I'm going to go through the other side. Now you can also start a little piece of square stitch with maybe 2 or 3 rows and then insert it into your finding, but this is the way I start. So I have my stopper bead sewed through one side, strung my 7 Delicas, sewed through the other side. Now I have to sew back. So my little trick to sewing back is to pick up a size 15 and going through that hole and going back through the whole row and out the other side, but not through the stopper bead. Now make sure that you don't skip a bead. Do you see how I missed a bead? You don't want to do that. You want to make sure when you're sewing back through that you get all the beads on your needle and not through your stopper. There we go. So you're just sewing back through that row. You're just inserting that into the finding. Now I'm going to need a 15 on the other side. So I'm picking up my 15 and I'm going to go back into the finding hole and out the row of beads, but not through the other side. I'm going to just go through the row and I'm just going to manipulate my beads. They're still loose enough. And now I'm ready to start square stitching. After I get a couple rows, I'm going to take my stopper bead off, string a needle on the tail end, and weave it into my work. But I don't have any place to weave it right now, so I'm going to start here. I'm going to do 2 drop because it's just faster. So I have 7 beads, and if I work in 2 drop, that's 2, 4, 6, and 1 left over. I know it's math, but our moms were right. We need math, right? It's okay if all your stitches are not 2 drop. You can do 2 in a stitch, 3 in a stitch, 1 in a stitch, whatever works for you to get it to hold. So I'm going to do 2. I've strung my 2 new beads for my second row, and I'm going to go around like this and through the beads that I just picked up. Now I'm going to pick up 2 more, and I'm going to go through the next 2 beads in my row. And back through the beads, so you can see I'm circling around. I'm going to pick up a single bead now, just for the middle one. Hello everybody who's watching. Hey, if you have any questions or you need me to repeat something, let me know as you're watching it. And now I have 2 beads left at a time. Circle around, go through the last 2 that I just picked up. Whether you do 2 or 3 or 1, you're going to do that same thing. Now remember, you have to reinforce, so I'm going to go back through the row of green, which was the previous row, and then come through the row I just added. That's square stitch. That's it. You can see how the beads line up very nicely, very geometrically. Back through the row, and then through the row I just added of the purple. So you're watching me and you're thinking, okay, how do I get those cool little flowers on, right? These are bead substitutes, the Guarani, and they have little shanks on the back. So think of these little shanks without the flower as if they are a bead. You're just going to add it wherever you want to put your flower to sit. So if I want it to sit in the middle, I'm going to string, just to make it go fast, I'm going to string 3 at a time. And I'm going to go back through the 3. Sorry, trying to look at it and keep it on camera at the same time. There we go. You can see I've sewn back through 3, picked up 3, sew back through 3, and then through the 3 that I just picked up. And now I'm going to pick up the Guarani. And here's what you want to remember. You want to remember which side of your piece the flower is going to go on, because you're going to want to flip it back and forth to help yourself see the best. And I'll show you what I mean. You can see how the flowers sit on one side, but if you look at the underside, it's a little hard because this is green. Here, let's try this one. This is better. You can see the shank fits right in between those Delicas in that row. And the flower sits above the beads a little bit on the other side. So it's really just sewing another bead in there to add these great bead substitutes. So I'm going to do that for you. So I've picked up a flower by the shank, and I'm going to go back through that purple bead there, just like you would in square stitch. No different whatsoever. Be careful not to get your thread stuck. Now I'm going to fold the flower underneath just so you can see that I have the shank added. And I'm going to sew back through that. Remember, you're circling around. I'm going to sew back through that, just the shank of the cymbal. I got caught on my other beads. There we go. Now I'm going to turn it over, and you can see where that fits. You see the little shank there? It looks like 3 green beads and the silver. Now I'm just going to pick up 1 green bead that goes next to it. And again, I'm going to be sewing around. So I'm going to sew through that next bead and adding the green that I just picked up. And then I'm going to sew through that green bead that I just picked up and continue with my row. See how that works? There you go. Pretty cool. And I'm going to zoom out, so come on. There we go. You can see how delicate these are. Little bit of chain. You can make it any length you want. You can make it go all the way around your wrist, or you can add the chain to the clasp. It just adds to the delicacy of it. Can even make it just really pretty, little, romantic, nifty, right? So, square stitch with new Miyuki Duracoat colors, Cymbal metal fashion elements. Scolati are the little endings that look like little pocketbook handles, and the Guarani are these lovely stylized flowers. Remember, you can get these and other quality BeadSmith bead tools and supplies. You know where? At your favorite bead shop or bead reseller. I'm Leslie Rogalski saying, we love beads and cymbals. See ya!